Savagery is necessary for the security of a nation, and that women will indeed vote in the future in parliaments to send men off to war to stab each other in the face at 18 years old with bayonets. Perhaps you can contend with that. What are we getting from women for doing that? Are we getting chaste virgins on our wedding night? No, we're not getting chaste virgins on our wedding night. Are we getting women of great virtue? No, we're not getting women of great virtue.
What am I getting out of it? I can tell you this.
There's that feminism.
All right, I believe I'm a woman of virtue,
right?
Out. Yeah, there's the feminism. Oh, and then you're interrupting me too,
Didn't
which
take
is great.
long,
I let
did
you
it?
talk.
Didn't
It's
take
my
long,
turn.
did it?
Okay.
The duties that women have towards anything. What do men get out of this arrangement? What are we getting out of this arrangement? Can you tell me?
I mean, you.
Well,
as
I would
I was going to
argue
answer
that
a
men
second ago.
innately should. If you think you need to get something out of it, I quite frankly don't consider you a real man.
Yeah, so you have nothing. So you have nothing.
But we'll
no
discuss in a moment
duties,
whether
nothing,
Andrew
they
Wilson
skip
is a real man.
Piers, I offer nothing.
So look, what you're about to watch is one of those debates where somebody actually makes a legitimate point about how masculinity is being destroyed in society. And then watch how fast the response devolves into emotional nonsense that completely avoids the argument. Like, you're going to see a guy lay out a perfectly logical case about how boys are being raised in a system designed for girls, how male behavior is pathologized from day one, and how the same people who call masculinity toxic will happily send men off to die in wars. And then watch the response. Watch how they deflect. Watch how they make it personal. Watch how they refuse to engage with the actual argument. It's textbook. And then it gets even better because a conservative woman jumps in and accidentally proves his point while thinking she's arguing against it. I know you guys are going to see exactly what I'm talking about. Let's get into it.
Typical feminine view, right? So all of these things are always through the prism of the feminine. So young boys, they don't do well in school. They don't do well in school because it's all programmed for the feminine. Stay still, fold your hands, right? Be quiet. Boys are rambunctious. They like to beat each other up. They like to be mischievous. They like to break things. They like to do that kind of stuff. There's no outlet for them to do that stuff. Their teachers are all women, right? There's basically all masculinity is now considered toxic, basically all of it. The same women who are getting their double shot of espresso on the way over to the school they're about to teach at, they're 24 years old. Sometimes they're banging their own students, right? Hilariously enough. And then these people go out to parliament. The same women will go to parliament. They vote to send men off to war to stab each other in the face with bayonets. And you're concerned about toxic masculinity. It cracks me up. It's like the brutal savagery of men is a necessary precondition for society to exist. And we just kind of pretend like it's not. And this show should actually be an indictment on the feminine rather than the masculine, because basically masculinity is just punished everywhere all the time, nonstop. It's no wonder guys like Andrew Tate get so famous in these spaces. I mean, what's the alternative? The alternative is everything must be feminine, tone policing, nonsense like this. It's ridiculous.
All right, James Barr, you were laughing, but I don't think you had a joy
crazy.
what you're hearing.
No, I mean, I don't think you've seen the show. Episode 2 is shot entirely in a school. I didn't see one of the female teachers drinking a double shot of espresso at all. None of the teachers were flirting with students. There were male teachers as well. I don't think you're describing the show here. I think you're describing your own insecurities or agenda.
Yeah, so this doesn't contend with the argument. Like, do you understand that I'm making an argument, an indictment of society itself based around my ideas that I'm seeing from this show? That's what I'm actually doing. So if you could contend with the fact that male savagery is necessary for the security of a nation, and that women will indeed vote in the future in parliaments to send men off to war to stab each other in the face at 18 years old with bayonets, perhaps you can contend with that before we start, getting into, well, tone policing is actually good and toxic masculinity is actually bad. It's like, I think there needs to be a little bit more toxic masculinity, or what you consider to be toxic masculinity.
Well, great, good for you.
Nothing.
I'm glad you think so.
Nothing.
Well, I mean, I just don't need to argue with that, because
you just unlocked. You just unlocked. You got nothing.
You're making up an agenda.
You do seem unusually muted by that,
I've not said anything. I haven't literally said nothing about
James, you were literally rendered silent. Like, you had no way of responding.
I'll tell you what, you can't argue with a completely illogical argument that had, like, I've not made any of the comments.
It's a logical argument. You may not agree with it.
I've not made any of the comments.
He's making a perfectly logical argument.
That you are firing at me. None of those comments are things I've said or believe in.
All right, I want to bring Tommy in, because Tommy, you've got a very interesting perspective, I think. You've talked about something different. You call it the pussification of men, which is a great phrase. I'd love you to just explain what you mean by that. But also, you're not a fan of Andrew Tate or the influence he has. So that makes you, I think, an interesting commentator in this area. So just explain, first of all, the pussification of men.
All right, Piers. Well, I think, and I can't see you all, so forgive me if I'm incorrect here, but I think I'm the only female on this panel.
Correct.
So I'm really anxious to weigh in. Okay, so I think over the last probably 10 years, there has been what I call the pussification of men. It was everything should be about your emotions and your feelings, and men were emasculated, and this whole concept of toxic masculinity warped the minds of a lot of young men, and they felt masculine, they wanted to be masculine, but society was telling them they should be softer, that it was being toxically masculine if you wanted to play sports and chop wood and go to war. And so men were so emasculated and so beat down that then there was this revolution of what was actually toxic masculinity, the Tate brothers and others, which I feel as a female that doesn't represent true masculinity. That to me represents douchebaggery. And as a woman, I want a strong man who is a protector and a provider, that will go to war if need be, that will protect me, protect my family, make money. I see that as being actually masculine. That's like the man that I grew up with, my dad. But what we're seeing now is these young men who look at Andrew Tate and the Tate brothers, and they see somebody who's just quite frankly a douchebag and disrespects women. And because they've been so emasculated, they're like, oh, great, that's a manly man. But that's not right either. So at some point, I think we'll go back to maybe meeting in the middle here. You can be a man who has feelings and emotions, but you can also go to war and protect and defend your family. I'm hoping we can get back there. But the two extremes right now, they're confusing men, and quite frankly, they're leaving women with few choices. And that's the real tragedy here.
You see, I completely agree with you, but Andrew, you were shaking your head quite vigorously. Why?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just more feminine or feminist nonsense ultimately. And the covert feminism in society is big, especially on the conservative side. So here's what happens, right? Women need to have feminine virtues for men to be pursuing masculine virtues, for you to say things like, well, men, what I want is for men to protect me, and I want men to make money. Well, that's great. What that ends up doing is it gives you a set of privilege in society. What do men get? What do men get for doing that for you? What are we getting from women for doing that? Are we getting chaste virgins on our wedding night? No, we're not getting chaste virgins on our wedding night. Are we getting women of great virtue? No, we're not getting women of great virtue. The idea of courtly love is supposed to be done for women of great virtue. Where are they? Well, they're nowhere. And so in modernity, in society, when female conservative influencers say this, it's actually a form of covert feminism. They're saying, I want privilege in society, right? But what is it women are giving to men to get it? What are they giving them? Tell me.
Well,
Piers, can I please chime in here?
Yes, you can. And then James can, and then I'll come to you, Sean.
No, I would love to. I love this whole thing of like, if you're a female conservative and you don't believe that men should be douchebags, that all of a sudden you're a covert feminist. Call me a feminist. I really don't give one crap one way or another, but I can tell you this. A lot of these men, these podcasts.
Okay, so hold on. Let's pause right here, because this is the critical moment in the entire debate, and I need you to understand what just happened. Andrew Wilson just asked the single most important question in this whole conversation. What do men get out of the arrangement? And watch what happens next. Watch how nobody actually answers it. Like, he lays out this entire framework, right? He says, look, society tells men you need to be protectors, you need to be providers, you need to go to war, you need to make money, you need to take care of women. All these duties, all these responsibilities. Great. What are women's responsibilities? What's the reciprocal arrangement here? And instead of answering that question, what do you get? You get emotional responses. You get, I don't care if you call me a feminist. You get, my husband's a baseball coach, so he's masculine. You get personal attacks. You get deflection. But here's what's so brilliant about what Andrew's doing. He's exposing the fact that modern conservatism, especially female conservative influencers, have adopted this covert feminist framework without even realizing it. They want all the benefits of traditional masculinity, the protection, the provision, the sacrifice, but they don't want to acknowledge that traditional masculinity was built on a social contract where women also had duties. And that's just facts. That's not controversial. That's how every civilization in human history operated until about 5 minutes ago. Like, you want to know why young men are drawn to Andrew Tate? It's because every other message they're getting is be masculine, but only in ways that serve women. But also, don't be too masculine, because that's toxic. But also, definitely go die in a war if we need you to. It's insane. And then, when someone like Andrew Tate shows up and says, actually, you should demand respect and standards. Yeah, he might say it in a provocative way, but at least he's saying men deserve something out of the deal. At least he's acknowledging that there should be reciprocity. And here's the thing that Tommy's about to say. Real men are just born that way. They don't need anything in return. Okay, but that's not an argument. That's just shaming language. That's literally just saying if you ask for anything as a man, you're not a real man. Do you see how that's just another form of control? Do you see how that's just feminism with a conservative aesthetic? I know you guys watching this already get it. I know you see exactly what's happening here. But this is why these debates are so important. Because you need to see how even people who think they're on the right, who think they're defending traditional values, have been so infected by feminist framing that they can't even see it anymore. Let me know in the comments what you think about Andrew's question, because I genuinely think it's the question nobody wants to answer. What do men get out of the arrangement in modern society? And if the answer is nothing, then why are we surprised when men check out? All right, watch what happens next.
But I can tell you this, a lot of these men, these podcast hosts on the right that like to think of themselves as these big masculine men and what am I getting out of it? I can tell you this.
There's that feminism.
All right, I believe I'm a woman of virtue, right?
Out.
Yeah, there's the feminism. Oh, and then you're interrupting me too,
Didn't
which
take
is great.
long,
I let
did
you
it?
talk,
Didn't
it's
take
my
long,
turn.
did it?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to speak over a man?
Yeah, I don't care if you call me. I don't really care if you call me a
strong,
feminist.
independent woman.
Yeah. Yeah. You're actually interrupting me. I didn't interrupt you when you were spewing your bullshit. So now it's my turn. Okay.
You mean the truth?
Like I said before. So I believe there we go again. Piers, I'm a woman of virtue. I happen to be independently successful. I have a husband who's not only a former professional athlete, but is currently a professional baseball coach. So is he not a masculine man? I mean, I'm confused here. What's your concept of a masculine man? Mine is a man who respects me.
Yeah, that misses the point, though. Like, you're still not contending with the argument that I'm
what's
making.
your point?
I'm saying inside of society, right this second, right, masculinity is not only punished, but also women on the right, covert feminists on the right, are constantly and consistently talking about how they need to have privilege in society. I want men. Their version of masculinity is men who take care of us, men who protect us, men who do all of this. Those are all duties that men have towards women. Great. What are the duties that women have towards men? What are the duties that women have towards anything? What do men get out of this arrangement? What are we getting out of this arrangement? Can you tell me?
I mean,
well,
as I was going to answer a
men
second ago,
innately should be protectors and providers.
Hang on one second. Let Tommy
Most
respond.
men are born that way.
Let Tommy respond to that, and then I'll come to you, Jez. And then Sean, you've been waiting patiently. So
most men are born to be protectors and providers. I can't imagine my dad saying, you know what, to my mom, you know what, I'm not going to be a protector and a provider unless you do this. That's not how real men operate. Real men are protectors and providers, and they marry women who hopefully have some virtue, but also bring a lot to the table as well, that are great mothers, great wives, caretakers of the home. There's nothing wrong with being a traditional wife and mother. You're misunderstanding me if you think that I think that women should just be out doing whatever they want. I think that there are gender roles that should be respected. But I don't think a man needs to get something out of it to be a manly man, a protector, and a provider. If you think you need to get something out of it, I quite frankly don't consider you a real man.
Yeah, so you have nothing. So you have nothing.
But we'll discuss in a moment whether Andrew Wilson is a real man.
Piers, I offer nothing. I offer nothing.
You offer me a lot of things, Tommy. That's why I always love having...
So let's be real about what just happened here. Andrew Wilson absolutely demolished everyone on that panel, and not a single person actually engaged with his argument. Not one. They got emotional, they got defensive, they called him names, they questioned whether he's a real man. But nobody answered the question. And that ending, man, I offer nothing. You offer me a lot of things, Tommy. That's Andrew literally pointing out that Tommy just spent the entire debate proving his point. She's saying men should be protectors and providers because that's what men do, while simultaneously admitting women don't need to offer anything in return. Like, she said it out loud. She literally said it. Here's what's so frustrating about this. The guy at the beginning made a completely valid point about how the education system is feminized, how boys are punished for being boys, how masculinity is treated as a disorder that needs to be medicated and therapized out of kids. And instead of anyone saying, yeah, maybe we should look at that, the immediate response is, well, you haven't seen the show and you're just insecure. That's not a rebuttal, that's a deflection. And then when Andrew comes in and says, look, if you want traditional masculinity, you need to bring back traditional femininity. If you want men to have duties toward women, women need to have duties toward men. That should not be a controversial statement. That's literally how social contracts work. But watch how they react. They act like he just said something insane. They act like he's being unreasonable for suggesting that maybe, just maybe, there should be reciprocity in relationships and in society. Look, I don't care if people think Andrew Tate is too extreme or whatever. That's fine. But you gotta understand why he blew up. You gotta understand why millions of young men listen to him. It's because every single other message in society is telling them to be ashamed of being male. Every other message is telling them that their natural instincts are toxic. Every other message is telling them to serve women without expecting anything in return. And then, when someone comes along and says, actually, you have value, you should have standards, you should expect reciprocity, yeah, they're gonna listen. And conservative women like Tommy, I don't think she's a bad person, I don't think she's intentionally pushing feminism, but she is pushing feminism. When you say real men don't need anything in return, that's feminism. When you say men should just naturally be protectors and providers without any expectation of virtue or reciprocity from women, that's feminism with a conservative paint job. And young men see right through it. The truth is this: masculinity is not toxic. Boys being rambunctious is not a problem. Men wanting respect and reciprocity is not unreasonable. And if we keep raising boys in a system that punishes them for being boys, and then we're shocked when they either check out completely or gravitate toward extreme figures, we're just being willfully ignorant. So here's what I want you to do. Drop a comment and tell me if you think Andrew Wilson won this debate. Because from where I'm sitting, nobody even came close to touching his arguments. They just got mad that he made them. And if you're new to MB, this is what we do here. We break down these debates, we call out the BS, and we say what everyone's thinking but nobody else wants to say. So make sure you're subscribed, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay sharp.